So the first question is identifying just the types. So how many terms are we looking at? So identifying a term is something glued together with multiplying and dividing, and what separates terms is some kind of add or subtract.
When you're writing these things, can you like put like a like instead of writing try or trinomial, this one, can you like 3, 2, 1?
Well,
And
you
clarify
have
it in the thing.
you have to identify the names. So you have to be able to recognize these names. So there's one term.
Try.
There's a 2 and there's a 3. So this one would be called the trinomial.
Can you just write try?
For on your paper here, I'm fine with that. But I mean, on a real test, make sure you're going. Okay. Number 2 here. How many do you see? How many terms? Just one. Because that's all glued. Multiplying and dividing, it's all glued. It's a monomial. This one, there's an add sign, so that's a separation. So 2. There's a separation, there's a separation, there's a separation. So 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. Because 8 is a term, right? 7x. So it's a polynomial. And it's got 4 terms in it. Okay, on this example, I have a monomial. So this is just a monomial. And I'm multiplying it by a binomial. So the end result, which is called a product, okay, because I'm multiplying it, the product is going to have how many terms in it when I'm done? 2. So now I've asked you to write a distribution. So distribution means you have to take turns with the multiplying. So everything in yellow has to multiply everything with orange. So take turns. So I have to do 9x times the 10x. That's one of the things. So that's the first term. We said there's supposed to be 2 things. What's the next option?
9x times -2.
9x times -2, and then you should do an add symbol there then. Okay? I'm going to show you a different option. 9x, 10x, subtract. So what did I do differently here? Here I added, and then I used the -2. And here I subtracted. Okay? Here this would add a -18x, yeah. And here this would just subtract 18x. Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Yes. Does that make sense? Okay? But don't do this. I could see this being a mistake. Don't subtract and then -2. You don't want to do that. You should always know this. This is a positive number and this is a negative number. So what should be the results? Something coming out negative. Okay. On example 2, 8xy is a term, so it's a monomial times x. So what happens to you if you do a monomial times another monomial? You're just going to get one thing. Okay, how many terms on the top here? How many terms? 2? There's 2 terms, and you're dividing it by 1 term. So how many would you have at the end of this? 2. So binomial. You're going to have 2 terms because you had 2 terms to start with. Okay, so writing a distribution. So how do I distribute the division? I have to take turns. So what's the first turn? 8x5, y8. That's the first term divided by 2. Now, what do you want to do here? This is a subtract 9. Would you like me to do add and then do a negative 9, or do you just want me to do a subtract? Subtract 9, and it needs the turn doing the division as well. That's the distribution. You take turns doing it to each thing, right? So somewhere on the test it talked about, can you show me what distribution looks like? This would be it. Last one. What's this top? What's on the top here? How many? 1 monomial divided by a 1. What's that going to make? Just 1. Monomial. Monomial. Okay, the next question gives me a rectangle. So some of you on this test just couldn't identify those things. So when you read, the length of the rectangle is this. So I'm just picking out, see how my eyeballs are picking out the important stuff. Length is this. Width is this. Important info, question, area. So see how my eyeballs just, I literally pick out those 3 words. That's all that's jumping out at me. So now I'm thinking, what should I do? So if I've given a length of a rectangle and a width of a rectangle, how do you find area? Length times width. So this is your thinking process. You're saying I should multiply these things. So it's going to look like this. Write an expression for the area. Okay? Now, I feel like only about 3 of you did this. What should I put at the end of area? Centimeters squared. How many people did that? A couple of you. That was it. Simplify this expression. So what should you do to simplify this times this? Well, we should times it. So what do you do to times? Distribute. Okay, so you take turns. So the first is, this is your first set. Distribute. So that makes 14 as a number, and then variables x squared. Okay? I had a lot of you trying to add this together and then times it. What's the problem with somebody doing this together and then timesing it? What's that problem? Putting this together and then trying to times it after. What's the problem with that? You can't put these together. How do you put terms together? They have to be like each other. Are these like each other? No. Lots of you are trying to do that on your test. You can't do that. If they don't look like each other, you can't add and subtract them, okay? So this is the first distribution. What is the second distribution? This is the second. So this is going to make 35x centimeters squared. Okay, so the next question, perimeter is what it asks. What do you know about a perimeter of a rectangle? What are you looking at? you add up everything. Is there a shortcut to me saying add?
Yes, times 2. Multiply by
2 lengths.
You have 2 lengths, and you also have 2 widths. So what does that look like with your info at the top line? What does it look like if I do 2 of the lengths? It would look like that. And if I did 2 of the widths? Okay, this is the perimeter expression. What should you put at the end as a measurement? I don't want centimeters squared on this because it's just perimeter distance. So just centimeters. Okay, simplify this expression. So that means I have to do all the math. So what is the math on this? What should we do in the first stages? Because there's a couple stages of math here. You have to multiply. Okay? BEDMAS says to multiply. And then, after I'm done multiplying, I can add, subtract. What's the only way I can add, subtract stuff? If they are the same, alike. Okay, here we go. Ready? This is a distribution. So 2 of the 2x makes 4x. 2 of the 5s makes 10. 2 of the 7x's makes 14x. I'm obviously just doing this over here. So this is part of the simplifying, but you can go more now. Why can I go more? These x's look like those x's, so I can put them together. 18x plus 10 centimeters of perimeter. Okay, so are you following the math behind multiply means distribute if you need to. Then look for add subtracts, which means collect like. That's it. That's the big deal. Multiply distributes, and then sometimes in those distributes you have exponent laws, which we just did. Okay, question 4. What does expanded form mean? So what is really going on here? So if I just look at the top, what is going on with the math on the top? What does 20A6 mean to you? What kind of operation is involved here? 20A6, are they being added together, subtracted, multiplied, divided? Multiplied. Does this make sense? This is 20A6. That's what it looks like. Because it's A. There were 6 repetitions of it. Can you do the same with the bottom? What's the actual math of this bottom? 4A. Okay. So what is the quotient? Okay, so going back to the numbers here, what's the 20 divided by 4 number? 5. And then this is all last unit. What do you do with division? What's the exponent-y rule? Subtract them. Okay, do you also notice this when I expanded them? This can go, this can cancel, this can cancel, this can cancel. And look at my A's. I have an A and an A, so that's squared. Okay, this was the middle section of your test. So I need you to always identify how many terms should I have in my answer. How many terms should you produce here? This should have 2 in its answer. How many terms should there be at this answer? 1. Monomial times a monomial. Just 1. How many terms should you get produced? 2. How many terms would you have in your answer? Trinomial divided by monomial? 3. Binomial divided by monomial? 2. Monomial? 1. Okay. So on these ones where there's 2 terms, I need to see a distribution. So the first is the -7 times the 9x negative 63, and it has an x on it, right? Then -7 times the 4 signs. You should pay attention. You should just look. Hey, this was a negative. What I have to times it by positive. So negative. Negative times positive again. Okay, on the next one, you're doing everything together because it's just 1 and 1. So go ahead, put the number together. So your number together should say 24. Now apply those exponent rules with variables. You have an x squared now and a y. Okay. Number 3 here. So if there's 2 terms, what am I doing? I'm taking turns. I have to do this set and this set, a distribution again. So here's your, and if you like this, that's fine, but if you also wanted to do okay, this is what I'm doing. This times this, and then I'm doing this times this. Okay, that's that distribution. Okay, go ahead, finalize that, see what you can come up with. Okay, how did it go? I got a -8 with an a squared. And then I got a plus because of the negative. And I wrote it AB. If you wrote it on your paper as BA, that's also fine. Okay, for the next one, distribution of the division. So you have to take turns. Do you want, I'm going to write it out fully. So I have to do the 8x7 first, divided. Okay, there's my next term. Okay, so I wrote it all out separately, everything. Divide like candy to children. Remember, this is what it's all about in math. If you do it to something, you got to do it to everything. So I wrote them all down. Divide by 2x, divide by 2x, divide by 2x.
Those 2 x's cancel out like 16x divided by 2x.
They would cancel out.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, here we go. 4. What's the rule about the exponent on the x here? X 6. If I subtract, here I get a 5 as a coefficient. X is, you can do stuff to that. X squared divided by x. And there's still a y on that one as well, right? Okay, did you get a -8 on that last term?
I didn't pick like the wrong order. No, it's not the wrong order. It's still no, it's 8.
How come you mixed it up? Did you just write it down in the different order?
Yeah, I did. I wrote it down in this one.
Okay, here we go. 2 more of these. So this is a distribution because they each have to have their turn. So if I write it out, I'm going to do that. I'm going to write it out the long way here. I'm going to take that turn. Okay, before I even answer anything, can you tell me about plus minus stuff? What's the first item supposed to be at the end of this? What's the first term going to be?
3.
Just plus or minus?
Oh, negative.
Negative, yep.
Yeah.
Because this divided by this. So the first thing should be a negative. And then what's the second term? The second term should be a positive value because there's a negative division. Okay, so here we go. Negative, because that's what you told me. -9. I am not writing the A's. See why I'm not writing A's? They would cancel out. Then you told me to say a plus. Plus 7a to the 4th now. Okay, and the last one, monomial. So we don't need to distribute. There's no distribution. We just go for coefficient -7. A to the 4 and b to the 0, which is the value of 1. So I'm not going to write that because it's timesing something by 1. Okay, question 6. I feel like people just didn't really show me the necessary steps. You don't have to write the final answer. I want something and then the final answer. Okay, now here we go. First, should I copy it or change it? Copy it. Don't change anything to it. I just rewrote it. Yep.
I think the mistake I made in the test was not like writing it down again. I just circled from the.
I know. That's why I'm saying like people trying to skip. Well, it causes you to make less errors. Yes. Okay. So here, this is an add. So I'm just going to rewrite. So I need to have a plus 2m and a plus 4. Okay, this bracket has a subtract in front of it. So that means everything I'm seeing, I need to go opposite. So minus an m and minus a 7. Same with this bracket. Because there is a negative in front of the bracket, everything changes. So you should have a plus on the 3m and a minus on the 11. Does that make sense? Understand if it's staying, copy, or change it. I didn't see a lot of people with that step. You're trying to all shortcut it, okay? Just make sure you're doing this, less errors. Okay, and I can give you more partial points. If I can find an error that you made, I can give you points. If you write the answer and make an error, I can give you 0 points. Okay, I need to collect. So that gets rid of my, technically I'm multiplying the brackets. Collect, collect, collect. So these are all like each other. 9, 2 puts me up to 11. Now I'm back to 10. Up 3, I'm at 13 m's. So you obviously don't have a calculator here. You got to do this all by hand. Okay. -3, go up 4. I'm at 1. 1, go down 7. -6. From -6, go down 11. There we go. Okay. Question B.
Wait, what was the answer?
Question B. Ready? First bracket. Do you want me to copy it or change it?
Copy it.
Copy it down.
And
Don't.
change the next bracket.
This bracket is a change because of the
Negative.
negative in front of this bracket. Yeah. Yeah. I'll give you a job too.
Me? Oh yeah.
Hey, Easton, can you help me? Easton, can you help me with one more people, okay?
Whoops.
Anybody else?
Okay, so changing it. So what does it all look like here when I change it? Plus the 2t squared now. Changed. Change. Change. Do you all see that? That's what I did. I changed, changed those things. Opposite. Okay. So that's like step 1. You need to do this in a multiple step stage. So now I can collect stuff. So 4t squareds and 6t squareds. Okay. I'm making 6t squareds. Some people wrote 6t fourth. What do you think they accidentally did? They added exponents, which is thinking about multiplying. Okay, and then we're going to go the negative t with the negative 3t. So do you make a negative 4t?
14.
And then we can put the 8 and the 5 together. Okay, the last question like this. Do not even think about just writing the answer. This is multiple stages. What should you do on stage 1? Times. You should do multiplying because BEDMAS says to multiply things. Okay, so this has to get multiplied together. So that means we're going to distribute stuff. We're going to distribute that. Can you get me an answer under that? Can you write your answer for this part? Just that. Distribute, distribute. I need 2 things under there. Distribute, distribute. Okay, and then look at my board when you're done. How did it go?
M goes with the 2.
Good? Okay. Now, this is another multiplication. So you also have to do that. So now, I need you to give me what this multiplies to and what this multiplies to. It's a distribution again. Okay, so how did that go? Multiply, did you do the minus and minus signs? Okay. Now I can add, subtract. And what does add, subtract mean? Collect. That's what you do, you collect. So now I can go this, and this could be together. So 2 minus 12 is negative 10 m cubes. And this can go together to make something m squareds. Okay, so again on the test, I was seeing a lot of things about people trying to put m and 6 together before they were multiplying, okay? There's nothing, you can't do m minus 6. There's just nothing further in math you can do with those two things because they can't be added and subtracted. Okay, does that make sense? You can never, never, never put things together, add, subtract, unless they're like. Okay, a page with some word problem stuff. Okay, here's my first question. What's the area of this rectangle? So what should I do to get the area of the rectangle? Length times width. So it should go 7x plus 2 times 10x. What should I do when simplifying this? I need to distribute. So you have to times and times. So 70. Did you go with an x squared on that one?
Yes.
Plus 20x. And then I'm going to put something at the end of it.
Inches squared.
Inches squared. Area, so square inches. Perimeter of this rectangle. So I need to have 2 of the lengths and add 2 more of the widths. Add, or you can add them all individually. So 2 of the lengths plus 2 of the widths. Okay, so this is going to make me a distribution. So 14x, and then the next distribution is a 4. It's like doubling everything, right? You had to double that and double that. Plus 20x over there. Simplify, so that means I'm going to put stuff together if I can. So 34x plus 4, perimeter in what kind of measure? Just inches, not squared, not area. Okay. Now, the next question says, I made a smaller rectangle. This rectangle has an area that is 1/5 of the other rectangle's area. So what do I do? What's that? Divide by 5. If you're going to be 1/5 of the size, you have to take the area of A and you're going to have to divide it by 5. Do we know the area of A?
Yes.
Yes.
What if it was 2/5? Then would you times the area?
I will not do that to you.
Oh, you wouldn't?
No. You would double it and then you would divide it by 5, but I won't do that to you.
Got it right.
Okay, so I took my area from A, which I had, and I'm dividing it by 5. So some of you on your test tried to work with the individual length and width, changing those. That's not what the question was asking. It was changing the area, not the lengths and widths. Okay? Okay, so again, you have to distribute, so you have to take your turns. You have to do this divided by 5 and this divided by 5. 70 divided by 5. Anybody know it?
Yes.
14. Because 70 divided by 10 is 7. 14, but I still have an x squared.
Yeah.
And
4.
4x. This is the area of B. So what should I tell you at the end of it?
Centimeters. Inches.
Inches squared.
What?
Because it's an area. Okay. Now the last question, this would have been the hardest one. The width. Whoops, that was supposed to be find the length or something. Bad words. That would have been a super sweet answer, 2x. Okay, the width is here, so now we have to figure out the length. So what should we do? Divide, right. If you have the length and width, you times them to get the area. But if you have area, you divide the side to get the other side. Does that make sense? So I'll give you just this very simple example. Here's an example. If a side is 2 and the other side is 5, the area is 10. But if the area is 10 and the side is 2, what am I doing? Dividing. Do you see it? Okay, does this make sense? You're working backwards. If I give you the sides, you times to get the area. If I give you the area, you divide to get the sides. Okay, you're working backwards. Okay, so we had the area of B. This was the area of B.
So divide by 2 then.
Divide by, I think, 2x.
2x.
Yeah. Divide by 2x. So there is my setup, and I would like you to also simplify it. This is area. This is the width. Does that make sense? Area divided by width. So did you get 7x plus 2
Yeah, oh yeah, because they do cancel out, yeah.
with what on the end? Just inches because it's a length. Okay, and this is the last page. I put some decimals and fractions in here to throw you off. You should be capable of doing that though. Okay, I have a binomial here, so I'm going to have a distribution. As soon as I see a binomial, distribute. So I'm going to have to do this times this, and I'm also going to have to do this times this. I'm going to have to do them both. Okay, so here we go. What is a half of 24? 12x squared, right? The variable part is still the same. What's a half times a 6? Minus 3x. Okay, and the last question has some decimals in it. Okay. So we're going to do turns here. We have to distribute. There's my distribution. Okay, 4.5 divided by 3. Here's the trick. You don't know what that is, but do you know what 45 divided by 3 is?
Oh, yeah.
15. So what's 4.5 divided by 3? 1.5. So there was an x9 on top and an x on the bottom. So did you write x8? And a y5. Okay. And again with decimals, maybe I don't recognize 1.2, but can you easily do 12 divided by 3? 4. So what's 1.2 divided by 3? 0.4. Okay? Is there any variables on that? No. They canceled out.